Hello. Happy Wednesday. You guys are almost to Easter break. Today we're going to go over lessons 10.7 and lesson 10.8 because they're very similar. So usually I kind of try to tie these in together. So I already kind of drew these pictures because I just wanted to explain to you. So when we have our tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. So remember back when you guys first did place value, we talked about like if we had this shaded and this shaded. Let's see, I'm just going to give a couple. And then that would be a thousandths. So usually this would represent that whole thousandth block. Then this one here, so if you had this one, we'd write it like 0.2. 0.2, so it would be like representing 2/10. And then here, this would be representing 200ths, okay? And then let's say I just did one here. That would represent 1,000th, okay? So the way that we're gonna write these when we write fractions is, and you guys are gonna be amazed, this is super easy. So now this is 2/10, right? This is 2. Well, actually, that would be 4. Oops. Right, so this would actually be 4 hundredths. That's because I colored 4 in here. And then this would be 1,000th. Okay, so the important thing to remember is whatever place this number is, okay? So 2/10 would be 2/10, 4 hundredths would be 4/100, and 1/1000th would look like this, all right? So erase this. I'm going to do a couple examples of the easy stuff with you, and then I'm going to kind of show you when it gets a little more complicated. So, all right, so if we look at, and I'm on page 230, so if we look at like number 1, it has 0.1, okay? So all you would write is 1/10. Super easy, okay? Next one, 0.02. This would be 2/100, okay? And then even, I'll give you an example from the thousandth page too. So if we had 0.065, this would be like 65/1,000. So it kind of ties in what we did at the beginning of the year with place value, when I would ask you to say this number to me and you would say like 1/10 or 200ths or 65,000ths. Okay, so that's how you would write this there. Now, the only time it does get a little complicated too when it comes to this is, let's say you had, I guess I'm gonna have to erase it all. Okay, so the only time it does get a little complicated is if you have a number and it says write the decimal as a fraction or a mixed number. So let's say we have this number here, like 3.1. Since this is a whole number, you'd write it as 3, and then because the 1 is in the tenths place, 3 and 1/10. Okay, that's it. If you have a number like this, and they're saying, all right, we have 9,000ths. Now the important part here, just like how we talk about in place value, is making sure that this number is in the right spot. So to write this one, we'd have to say it is 9 thousandths. Okay, so make sure that you remember that this spot is the tenths, okay? This spot is the hundredths, and this spot is the thousandths, okay? Because it's kind of one of those where if you put it in a different spot, it's going to change the whole value. All right, so, student page. So if we had even a number like 3 and 499 over 1,000, okay, and they said write this as a decimal, we'd have 3 and 499 thousandths, okay, so pretty easy there. The next thing I'm going to go over with you is when it gets a little more complex. So I'm going to show you a couple different things here. So remember I talked about if you have a number like this and the fraction is saying, okay, I want you to write it as a decimal. Remember we talked about this is written 2 divided by 5, or we have the 2 divided by 5. Okay, so if I wanted to make this number into a a decimal, I could do it 2 ways because of its denominator. So 5 can't go into 2, so we'd have our 0 here. Okay, 5, don't forget to move up your decimal point. 5 can go into 20 4 times. Okay, so our answer would be 0.4. or 4/10. Okay? Now another way you can do it, and this only works if the denominator is compatible with tenths, hundredths, or thousandths. So let's say I wanted you to write this as a decimal as well. So you could do 5 times what equals 10. 5 times 2, whatever you do on the bottom, you must do on the top. So we have 4/10. Now, we're not done yet because they still want us to write it as a decimal. So all we would do is write 4/10. Okay? So that can work too if we have ones like 3 over 25. Now, 25 can't go into 10, but it can go into 100. Okay, so 4 times 25 equals 100. Whatever you do on the bottom, you must do on the top. So your answer would be 12 over 100, or 0.12. And that's it, as a decimal. Now, sometimes they're going to give you ones and you're not going to be able to do that. So let's say we had something like actually, all the ones in your book, you can actually do that trick, but I'm going to just show you this because we will get to this too. If you don't have a number, so 3 can't go into 10, 100, or 1,000, so on this one, you'd have to just work out the problem, okay? So 3 can't go into 1, so we're going to put our 0 here, add our 0, okay? 3 goes into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, bring down our 0. 3 goes into 10 3 times. And this one is one of those where it just kind of goes on and on. So actually when you have ones like this, we usually just stop. So and if you actually want to know the sign for stopping, usually just put a line over the top. So that means that the number just keeps going on and on. But usually I just have you guys stop at the hundredths place. Okay, so 1/3 written as a decimal would be 0.33. Okay, so but that's just kind of like a, I know you'd probably have the question in your head like, oh, well, what if the number doesn't go into it? So that's just kind of later on. But the ones that you will have today are ones where you can do either way. So if we have like a number 5, you can do 11 over 20. You can do this two ways. You can do 11 over 20. Okay. And you know that 20 can go into 110 5 times. Okay, can't go in here. Okay, we have 100. Then we subtract. Drop down our 0. Okay, 20 goes into 100 5 times. All right, so 0. And then remember, we always drop, don't do a double 0. So you can either write it 0.55 or you can do it as 0.55, either or. Now the other way you could have done it is because 20 is compatible with 100, you can actually do 20 times what equals 100, be 5, whatever you do on the bottom, you must do on the top. So you have 55 over 100, which would be 55 hundredths. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Super, super easy. So I'm going to do a couple examples with you, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of homework on both 10-7 and 10-8, and then that way on Thursday you can just check your work, and then we'll just resume when we come back from Easter break. So if we look at number 8, and I'm not going to draw out that picture, but if you look at that 1, and it says write it as a decimal and a fraction for the shaded portion. So if you actually count up all those blocks, you will find that you have 97. So 97 hundredths would be written as 97 hundredths or 97 over 100. And this is really important too, because I saw a lot of people miss this on our little quick check with equivalent fractions, but make sure you read the directions, because here they actually wanted you to do both. So they said, please write it as a decimal and a fraction. Okay. And then on ones like, let's see, number 20. Actually, we'll do 12 and then we'll do 20. So 3.2 would be written as 3 and 2 over 10. So just the way that we would say it and when we were in class. So 3 and 2 tenths, 3 and 2 tenths. Okay, so remember the decimal was stood for and. All right. Number 20 has 2 and 1 over 100. So here they did it backwards. So I'm going to give you kind of, so your numbers might be kind of a little off today with the math lesson. So that way you can do a little bit of all. 2.01. So the important thing about this too is 2 and 1 hundredths. Okay, there's nothing in the tens place here. All right, and then if we look at page 234, they have a couple other ones. So here, if it's 7.001 and they're saying, you know, write this as a fraction. Remember, anything on the left is a whole number, so it'd be 7 and 1 thousandths. Okay, so very easy. So it's just kind of tying in place value, but now you're kind of doing it as a fraction. And then let's see, if you have 2 over, let's see, 25, remember you can, if it goes into 10 hundredths and thousandths, and they're saying write it as a fraction, whatever you do on the bottom, you must do on the top. So this would be 8 over 100 or 8 hundredths. And that is all the time that I have. So I have about 20 more seconds. So I will put your homework in today. And then if you have any questions today or tomorrow, then feel free to ask. All right. All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.